Hey guys, how's it going? So I promised you guys I was going to teach you how to do food substitutions on your meal menu. So the first thing that you have to do is go to myfitnesspal, get a free account. It doesn't cost you anything. So once you're in myfitnesspal, I'm going to do this really simply. Basically, you take a look at the macros that are in your meal. So let's just say, hypothetically speaking, your lunch was maybe, we're just doing this hypothetically, right? So you had 7 ounces of chicken, you had 1.5 cups of rice, and then maybe you had some green leaf lettuce, a little bit of kale, some olive oil, and some apple cider vinegar for the dressing. So we're going to add that. Okay, so we're looking at our meal in MyFitnessPal, and it's really simple. You just have to click on food, you go down to food diary, and for those of you who haven't familiarized yourself with MyFitnessPal, it's an amazing tool. It really is. The key here, guys, is just that whenever you're replacing carbohydrates, it's really important that you make sure you're choosing complex carbohydrates. You choose simple carbohydrates, kind of like we talked about yesterday, it's going to spike your insulin, and your hormones are going to start immediately storing food. So let's just say this is what we have, right? And when we look at this, we look at the macronutrients here. We have 89 grams of carbs, 9 grams of fat, 72 grams of protein. So for a total of 749 calories. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to recreate a meal using MyFitnessPal that matches the same macros. So I would just go down to dinner, and I just use this to play around with sometimes when I'm trying to find substitutions, right? So let's just say, we're sick of eating chicken. We want something different, right? However, we're kind of limited. We got 9 grams of fat to work with, so that's one thing that we're going to have to be conscious of. We are going to make sure that we choose some greens and some veggies to keep our fiber going. I'm going to go over here, and we're going to say, today I'm not really feeling chicken. Today I'm feeling some tuna steak. I'm going to have some asparagus, and I don't really feel like eating that, so maybe today I'm going to have some broccoli as well with that asparagus, and we're going to have some sweet potato. So we're going to add that into the meal, and we're just going to compare it side by side. Okay, so clearly on the second meal, we're quite a few short on calories, we're a ton short on carbs, and we're obviously low on fat, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. However, we are low on protein as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take these portions and I'm going to play around with it. So currently we have it at 6 ounces of fish. So we're going to see what happens when we switch this over. We do 8 ounces of fish, right? Ideally, when you're choosing your meal, you don't want your fats to be any higher. Your protein can be a little bit higher. Your carbohydrates can be the same, can be a little bit higher, but you really want to try to tune this in and keep as close to the assigned macros that you have. So this is looking a little bit better. We got 8 ounces of tuna. We're looking at 39 carbs, and up here we have 89 carbs, right? The carbs are coming from our brown rice, which is a complex carbohydrate. So we're going to try to make up, and we're going to try to keep the carbs a little bit closer. Let's say now we're going to do 8 ounces of sweet potato because we're hungry. We want to make it work. So we roll down here. We're still a little bit closer. Our carbs are sitting at about 72. Maybe we want to do 10 ounces of sweet potato. You essentially are just playing around with the proportions here to try to match up the macros as closely as possible. And like I said, you want to make sure that you're doing it with complex carbohydrates. So we've got 10 ounces now. We're a little bit closer in carbs. Our fats are still pretty low over here. We could even throw a couple extra ounces of tuna. And you can do this for absolutely any meal, any food. As long as you're choosing complex carbohydrates, your protein is close, your fat is the same or lower. Then you can go ahead and pretty much mix and match just about anything else. So we're still a little bit low on our calories. We're low on fat, which is actually okay. We've actually got a surplus of protein in this meal, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But we're going to add a little bit more asparagus and see where we get here. So we don't want 7 spears of asparagus. Today we want 9 spears of asparagus. And the beautiful thing is that those are fibrous carbs, which means that it's not going to even count towards your overall carb count. And you basically play with this until such a point, and you can add other foods, you can subtract other foods, you can really do whatever you want. It's just as simple as, so 755 looks pretty close to me, right? We're even a little bit lower on our fat count here. We are 2 grams lower in carbs, which is made up for in protein, which is all a benefit. We have 2 healthy meals. We've made a substitution, and we're ready to eat. It's really, really easy to find food. You can literally find everything you want, and you also can download this for your phone. The phone application is amazing because you can actually scan foods, for example. So let's just say today I wanted to eat, I don't know, we're going to say today I wanted oatmeal for my snacks. You know, it's just everything's there. Whenever it's got the check mark, it means that it's verified. And if there's anything that you can't find and you're using the phone version, you just put it onto your phone. It's just that easy. So that's how you do substitutions. And it's super easy to do, it's super easy to make use of. You just want to make sure that your carbs, your fats, and your protein match up relative, your calorie count matches up relative, and you want to make sure you're using complex carbohydrates over simple.